Hey guys, everything new under the sun. So if you've clicked on this video, you probably have a blue Yeti microphone that maybe doesn't work. If you don't, I guess you're just watching it just for fun, and thanks for watching it even if you don't have a Yeti. But what the problems I had was I purchased this blue Yeti microphone used off eBay in not working condition. It was for parts only. I knew it was. I spent about $100, or I think $80 plus shipping. Spent about $100 figuring, that, it's a piece of electronics, how much could go wrong with it. And when I got it, sure enough, it did not work. Now, I think the main issue was the USB cable. It looked like the USB cable head got kind of torqued, because if you bend it up this way, for example, it kind of smashes against itself. You can kind of see there. If I bend it up, it kind of smashes against the USB and bends it. And so the USB cable that I got with it was all bent up. So I think there's some issue in the USB. But you'll notice it is blinking, so it is powering it. This microphone requires 5 volts DC, I guess it is, and it gets that through the USB cable. Now, when I first got it, like I say, it wasn't working, but then it started working, and so I used it fine. I used it, without, take the audio jack out there, I used it with the USB. Worked for months that way. It just started working again, oddly. And then it died again. And since then, I've not been able to get it to work. Now I've tried all the things, adjusting the volume. Of course, this volume just affects the line out the monitor jack. I've, of course, unmuted it, because that's the first thing you should do. I've also played with the gain and the pattern. And right now it's in the cardioid pattern. But I've tried all of them. I've also had this apart. I've looked at it. Nothing inside looks special. And I mean, this is a tank of aluminum. So, nothing, even if you drop it, I mean, it's well made inside. It's very sturdy and strong and weighty. So in the end, you're not going to really break it too easily. I'll just minimize those things so there's less distraction on the screen there. So anyways, yes, it's a tank. But like I said, there was something wrong with the USB, and many people have this issue where it does show up on the iMac. Let me demonstrate it for you, actually. Let's go to the iMac. It's going to be a little bit of hand holding here. I'll see if I can simply zoom in. And so it is plugged in, and you'll notice it is not muted, as shown by the non-flashing red light. So let me go to Settings, and go to Sound. And if I bring this into the center and zoom in on this, you can see, let me put this in here, you can see that it does recognize the blue Yeti, the Yeti stereo microphone. And that's great. It looks like it works, actually, because as you see, I'm talking. If I stop talking, it'll stop bouncing as much. But you notice it is bouncing a little bit. If I talk into it, test, 1, 1, 2, 3. So it's registering something through the USB, but if you then try and record a device with it, it doesn't record anything. It's either static or it doesn't record anything. Some of the software I have, like Screencast-O-Matic, it just says it doesn't hear anything, basically. There's no sound coming out of it. So you can record a video and it does nothing. So I don't really know what the Mac is seeing here, but obviously it sees a lot of background stuff going on. Even if I'm silent, it's still bouncing around. And that's not just background noise either. That I think is just electronic static, or problems with the data, the digital signal that's coming through the USB. So there's something wrong there, obviously. But if you put a headphone jack into the monitor port, this port here, you can hear yourself fine. Through the headphones. It works perfectly fine. There's no static, no nothing. So the microphone itself internally is working. It's sending the audio through here. The audio through here works. It's not going back through the USB for whatever reason. So the workaround is, first of all, the USB is stable. If I wiggle the USB, it doesn't make the light flicker as if it's losing power. So it's providing the 5 volt power, which is necessary. So from that point of view, the USB is working fine. If you're just considering the power. The way you can fix it, though, is you simply get a 3.5 millimeter jack, male jack, and so same end. You know, let me pull the cables out here. If I pull these out, and I'll just show you the ends here. So you've got let's see, line them up. So you've got your 3.5 millimeter jacks on the right side, just exactly the same, both males, because one is going to go into your built-in line-in input, or your built-in input in the back of the Mac or whatever you're plugging it into. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to use the USB cable, this one, to power it, to provide the 5 volts for the microphone, which it needs to light up, because it does need some extra power to do the stuff it's doing. It's not kind of a standalone one. And then you can use the monitor out using a standard 3.5 millimeter stereo cable. It's just plain. This is actually a cheap cable. And then what you can do is if you just bind these two together and get some cable wrap and just bind it together and make a single cable, then you have a fairly neat setup. So I'll plug these in the back again. So we'll go through the bottom here. Let's see if you can see what I'm doing here. Go through the bottom here. Stick in your monitor. I don't even use monitors anyways while I'm making YouTube videos. You know, I can hear my own voice, obviously. I don't need to hear anything else. I suppose if I was doing audio to some videos, maybe I'd want to hear the video in the background, but I don't find I ever need to actually do that. So the monitor is kind of an extra port that I really have never used in probably 4, 5, 6 months using this. The only thing about the monitor jack is all the buttons, dials, the pots on the Yeti will control the output, and that includes the output to the monitor. So the gain is going to still control the gain. The pattern is still going to be controlled going through the monitor. Basically, everything you set up here is going to your computer and it's going out the monitor. So you hear exactly what you set up. The only extra piece is this volume here. And this volume is important because not only is this the level that's going to your ears, this is going to be the level that actually is going into the computer. So if this is too high, then it's going to start clipping, I guess it's called, and the computer's going to have a hard time, and you're not going to have a very good quality audio signal. So same idea, you know, 1/2 or 3/4 on the volume should be plenty, because remember, it's also a powered signal. So you know, from that point of view, you probably want to have it a little bit down too. I would say do a couple of test recordings. Make sure you're not clipping into the mic input on the back of, well, I got my iMac in the background there. Make sure you're not clipping, and you definitely do not need to have it maxed out. That should never happen. I think I had mine about 1/2, I forget now, but anyways, that's fine. And do a test, because you can tell the power of it when you start testing. I think I actually turned this down to get it to a better level. So I'm going to plug in the other ends into the back of the iMac here. Let's go around and look at that. Sorry about the unsteady hand holding here. So of course we've got our USB plug. If I can get this in with one hand, we're not moving the iMac, and we'll go put our 3.5 millimeter jack into the microphone jack. There we go. And yes, it's using 2 ports, but you know, ideally I could just use one. But I mean, if I'm only using a USB anyways, then I would never need to have the other input free for anything. I'm not doing any super serious recording. So now what you have on screen is the option of, let me zoom in here. Well, it was always there, but there was nothing plugged into it. The line in, the audio line in port. So now we can click on this and unmute, and now you see as I talk, that is seeing the Yeti microphone going through the monitor. So the monitor jack is going to the line in, and then you can see it. So if I bring the Yeti up, so you can see the level go up significantly. Now if I turn up the audio, the volume, you see it goes way up there, and even could start clipping. If I talk loud, clipping. So I'll put it down to about 1/2, a little under 1/2. maybe even 40%, because I want to be within a couple inches of the Yeti with my mouth talking. And that's about right. And then you can start there, do some test recordings. And that's it. That's a simple fix. I mean, you don't gotta... If you bought this thing new, you know, if I bought this thing new, I'd probably be disappointed that it was doing this. But let me zoom out. And I'll show you the distance I was doing from the microphone. There we go. So yes, so I was talking basically this close, if that, you know, an inch, 2 inches, that's kind of where you want to be. And you want to be to half to 75% on the input level on your screen. That's, you know, I don't know, that's what I would suggest anyways, because you don't want to be close to the top end, because you're going to start clipping. But, like I say, if I bought this thing new, I'd probably be disappointed that it was having troubles. But given that they provide the monitor input and it's just 3.5mm jack, then you can definitely go straight into your line in, your microphone in on your PC, your Mac, whatever you have, and then you have it. The downside obviously is that you've got 2 cables now that are dangling, but if you get cable organizer, you know, a black wrap cable that you can wrap around it for the length of the cable and make a single cable, then it starts making a bit more sense. And you know what? In the end, maybe you get better quality sound, or, you know, I don't know, analog sound out of the 3.5mm jack. I don't know. I'm not an audiophile. All I know is this is the easiest fix for the issue with the Yeti being seen on your computer, but not being picked up and not able to record sound, even though it looks like it's plugged in. It looks like it's reacting. So you can see, as I talk, it is bouncing around just as you would expect, and if I'm quiet, then it should disappear. And again, that's what you would expect. If it's picking up too much background noise, you can just turn down the gain. So let me turn up the gain on this, and I'll see if it picks up background noise. So I turned up the gain completely, and it wasn't even picking up background noise. So it's pretty quiet in the room that I am now. I thought that would pick something up, but anyways. So yes, all the buttons still affect it, because through the monitor you hear every single setting you set on the microphone. So you get the full functionality, 100% of the functionality. You just have to get the sound into your computer in another method instead of through the USB cable. So that is it. Simple fix. Get yourself a male 3.5mm, you know, stereo headphone jack, and just use the monitor out, which is in I think all Yetis, and just use that to go right into the microphone input or the line in on your, in my case, iMac. And that completely resolves it. The audio, you cannot tell the difference. It's perfect. In an ideal world, you'd have one cable, but really, you know, if you really want professional sound, I mean, who's going to be concerned about 2 little wires coming out of it anyways? You can see the mess of wires there, so I would like to get cable management to kind of coil those up and keep them together in nice neat length of wire. But again, all things being equal, you know, if this gets your Blue Yeti working again, and to save you having to buy a new one for $200, $300, $400, then this is the easiest fix. I've played with all the settings. I played with the audio MIDI input, the audio MIDI setup. I've played with all the mute, unmute. I've opened it up, like I said. I've tried all the things that they've had in the forums, and nothing's worked. So if you have a problem with your Yeti, try that monitor out. I'm betting that will fix it 100% for you. So if you thought this was helpful, if it ended up fixing your issue with your Yeti, please give me the thumbs up and subscribe. I have lots of technology videos, and I'd love to have you along. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if it works out for you, and we'll see you guys in the next video.